we deport foreign criminals. Not perhaps as many as we should, but we do deport foreign criminals.
Calm down.
They don't know what they're doing. They know these people are coming into the city. Why not arrest them when they're coming in off the train?
The issue of deporting foreign offenders has generated a lot of discussion in the UK in recent times. Critics claim that insufficient action is being taken to address the rising number of criminals who are permitted to stay after committing significant crimes, even though the nation does deport some foreign criminals. Public figures like Nigel Farage have made this problem their central concern, frequently expressing dissatisfaction with how the government has handled it. Farage fears that public safety is jeopardized by the UK's unwillingness to repatriate foreign offenders. He contends that the government's strategy represents a more severe problem with the political environment, where worries about political correctness and race increasingly impact decisions. According to him, the reason for this hesitation to deal with foreign criminals is a fear of being called racist, which stifles critical discussion and keeps action from happening. This anxiety is brought to light by Farage, who questions why the government hesitates to take action when public safety is at risk. Prominent politicians have voiced their opinions on this matter. Many are against the deportation of specific people, including Labour leader Keir Starmer. They contend that since many of these people were brought to the UK as minors and have spent most of their lives here, it would be unfair to send them back to nations they are unfamiliar with. These reasons stem from humanitarian grounds. Those opposed to deportation contend that it would be cruel to send people back to countries where they would be mistreated or live in dangerous conditions. This viewpoint brings up significant issues regarding how to strike a balance between the interests of justice, public safety, and compassion for people who may have had a rough upbringing or were forced to flee unstable nations at an early age. Farage notes that the humanitarian argument, however, cannot downplay the seriousness of the crimes perpetrated by some of these people. He claimed that the government was ready to deport some 50 people who had been found guilty of major crimes like rape, murder, and sexual assaults against kids. These are serious crimes, and many think that letting these people stay in the UK puts the public at serious risk. Farage goes on to detail the different kinds of crimes that are involved. Those who have committed violent crimes like rape and murder, significant sexual offenses against minors, drug-related offenses, and gun-related offenses are among the offenders. These people have foreign passports, and the government faces difficult policy decisions because of their histories. Protecting the public from dangerous criminals is morally required, but there are ethical concerns about handling those who have spent most of their lives in the UK. Some Labour Party members and other opponents of deportation contend that it is unfair to deport people who were born and raised in the United Kingdom, even if they do not hold British citizenship. They claim that it is against fundamental humanitarian norms to deport someone to a place where they have no solid ties or where they would face perilous circumstances. Those who arrived in the UK as young children and spent most of their childhood immersed in British culture will find this particularly true. However, the counter-argument, led by people like Farage, is that the public's safety must come first and justice must be done. Farage laments the government's unwillingness to deport these people, pointing out that their lengthy residency in the UK should not be a defense against the repercussions of their actions. Serious criminals should be subject to the full force of the law, which may include deportation in the case of non-citizens. The argument that deportations are motivated by race is one of the most divisive features of this discussion. The idea that deporting foreign offenders is intrinsically racist is one that Farage vehemently denies. He contends that this charge is damaging and baseless since it keeps essential conversations from happening. He underlines that all people should be treated equally under the law, regardless of their country, and that foreign nationals who commit crimes should face the same consequences as British citizens. Farage claims that the government is failing to protect its citizens by permitting foreign criminals to stay in the UK. He draws attention to the fact that over 1,000 foreign nationals who have committed major crimes in the UK have been granted permission to remain there. While many of these people will stay in the UK after being released from prison, others will fulfill their terms, which raises concerns about public safety and the efficiency of the legal system. Farage believes that the government's lack of vigilance in protecting its citizens proves a failing system. The overall political environment makes the problem more difficult. In the current climate, worries about social justice and racism frequently cast a shadow over conversations concerning immigration and criminal activity. According to Farage, this has led to a culture of political correctness where difficult choices are avoided for fear of negative public opinion. He contends that the UK is left vulnerable by its unwillingness to confront challenging problems as dangerous people are let to remain inside its borders. The Labour Party's stance on this matter has been subject to severe criticism from individuals such as Farage. He charges them with putting the safety of the British public behind political correctness. He believes that Labour's deportation policy reflects a deeper misinterpretation of justice. According to Farage, justice knows no nationality, whether a person is British or not. They should be held accountable for their actions if they commit a crime. According to Farage's supporters, the current immigration and deportation policies send a disturbing message. The government risks undermining public confidence in the legal system by permitting major offenders to stay in the UK. When those who have committed horrible atrocities are allowed to remain in the nation, citizens may start to believe that the government is not dedicated to keeping them secure. This may give the impression that the government is lenient toward criminal activity, which could damage public trust in the justice system. Farage also draws attention to this issue's wider ramifications. The UK government is setting a risky precedent for future cases if it persists in opposing the deportation of foreign offenders. He contends that regardless of a person's nationality, the law must be implemented consistently and fairly. Treating foreign nationals differently goes against the fundamental ideas of justice and equity that are the foundation of the legal system. The deportation debate raises important questions about the UK's handling of immigration, crime, and public safety. Humanitarian concerns are important but must be balanced with the obligation to uphold the law and safeguard the public. According to Farage, the existing policies should be re-evaluated to ensure that public safety is given top priority without sacrificing justice or due process. The UK must carefully analyze the moral and legal ramifications of deportation as it struggles with these difficulties. Striking a balance between the need to protect the public from serious offenders and sympathy for those who have spent most of their lives in the UK is complex. Farage and others, however, maintain that justice must be administered fairly to all people, regardless of their nationality or immigration status, and that public safety must come first. In the end, the discussion surrounding the deportation of foreign criminals raises some of the most critical issues regarding justice and equity in contemporary society. How can the UK confront the complicated issues of immigration and human rights while still upholding its commitment to the rule of law? Perhaps most significantly, how can it ensure that the public is protected by its regulations while still giving victims of crime justice? These are challenging questions, and the responses will impact how the UK handles immigration, crime, and the legal system. As the discussion continues, it becomes increasingly evident that the government needs to figure out how to balance these conflicting agendas while maintaining compassion and justice. Don't forget to leave comments, like, share, and subscribe. Until we meet again, bye.